Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have quite an interesting beer. This one is kind of half Danish, half New York American if you like. So we're going to return to Evil Twin Brewing, who do some really nice beers, and tonight we're having a taste of the Ashtray Heart, which is a smoked porter, and I got this one from my local Systembolaget in Lund, so hopefully this is a very nice beer. They don't seem to point me ever in the wrong direction in this shop, so I'm sure it will be. But the last beers I did from Evil Twin was the Hello, My Name is Sonia, which was a collaboration one with Brewdog, and I also did the disco beer as well, which was a really quite interesting one. So I know Evil Twin do some pretty awesome beers, so quite looking forward to this one. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the company. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All of the usual website links are in the video description for you below. The channel Facebook page, the channel Untappd, and also a link to my other Evil Twin reviews and the brewery website. You'll find them all below, so do check them out if you are interested. But anyway, to tell you about Evil Twin Brewing. So as I told you, these guys are a Danish gypsy brewery, and they were founded by Jeppe Jarnet Bjergso, who is the twin brother of Mikkel Bjergso, and the brewery was founded back in 2010, and it was largely inspired by the lack of craft beer in Denmark back at that time, although obviously it's quite a thriving scene over in Copenhagen now. But Jeppe began homebrewing in the same beer group that gave birth to Mikkeller, and he went on to found his own beer shop in Copenhagen called Ølbutikken, and he also started an import business that was attached to the shop as well, and he was using this to bring the kind of famous American West Coast beers into Denmark. But later he decided it would be fun to sell his own beers in the shops, and they also distributed the early Mikkeller beers as well. But after this kind of began to take off, Jeppe agreed an import deal with 12% imports from America, and this meant that he was sending his beer over to the USA. And later he moved over there and was followed by his wife in 2012, and they based the company at their new head offices in Brooklyn in New York. But their beer itself is actually brewed at a variety of different host institutions. They brew in Denmark, the USA, Netherlands, and also in Scotland as well. I believe they brew some at Brewdog up in Ellen in Aberdeenshire, and I think they also brew at De Proef Brouwerij in Lochristenhoofd in Belgium. Not sure really where they brew in the Netherlands actually, or in the States, but I think they also brew at Noribro Bryghus over in Denmark as well. So they brew at quite a variety of host institutions. But anyway, that's your kind of brief history of the Evil Twin Brewing Company. As I said, go and check out the brewery website. They've got a whole host of different beers that they're doing now. The famous one I think these guys really did that was well known was the Yellow Cab beer. That was a very nice one that I had quite a long time ago. But I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. Go and check out the brewery website if you want to see the other beers that they do. They're all listed on there. You can see this one is quite nicely presented. It says on the side, amazingly rich, seductively dark, and smoking good. Yes, a real heartbreaker. We recommend only the truly skillful heavyweight beer champions to battle this awfully irresistible smoked stout. But I heard it was a porter. It says on the front that it's a porter rather than a stout, so quite an interesting there. But it says brewed by Evil Twin Brewing, Stratford, Connecticut. So that's obviously where they're brewing some of their beers in America. But yeah, it has on the side government warning, all of this, yeah, but it comes in at 8.9%. It's a smoked porter, smoked stout kind of beer, and it should be a pretty awesome one for us to try. As is normal with Evil Twin Brewing, it is a plain bottle cap, and it says on the side bottled on the 5th of May, I think that's 2014 it was bottled, so it's been in the bottle a little while. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. It should be pretty awesome. As you can see, a nice, quite big smoky opening on this beer, and it is very dark. I remember the Evil Twin beers being very thick and very full of flavour, and this one looks as if that's exactly how it's going to be. But yeah, a very attractive looking beer on the pour, I have to say. So as you can see, I'll just bring the light over it and let you see the exact colour of this beer. You can see it is a very dark sort of ebony kind of rosewood colour. There's a finger of a frothy beigey tan head on that, definitely frothy, not bumpy at all. One or two bigger bubbles in there, but not really a bumpy head on it at all. A lot of big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, but quite a lot of small ones going up towards the bottom of the head too. Very attractive looking beer, I have to say. Very much looking forward to trying this one. So let's give it a smell and see how we got on with this before we get stuck in. Yeah, so as you would expect, a big roasted malt nose on this one. Quite a sweet smoke actually, quite peaty I have to say, on the smoky side of things. But underneath that you've got a nice dark coffee roasted malt in there. It is quite roasty, but it's got a nice sweetness to the roasted character too, and I think it's a kind of peaty smoke that you're getting from this one. There is almost a little bit of a meaty note coming off this, but when you sugar it up a little bit more, you get more of a kind of caramelly sweetness and things coming out of it. And there is a darker treacle molasses in there as well. And you can pick up a bit of nutty or bready character, and perhaps even a little bit of an earthy hop coming out too. But it is the most prominent component of the aroma is definitely that smoky nose. And as I say, it is quite peaty and quite sweet, and that's where the caramel kind of mixes in with it. But there's a nice dark, slightly roasted coffee in there as well. Has all of the elements you would expect of a porter beer. Very, very nice smelling beer, this one. So as I always say, before you actually try your beers, just take a little bit of time and have a go at the aroma. It can always help tune your palate that way. It's always really cool because you start to notice things about different hops and stuff, but Evil Twin actually don't tell you what hops and malts they use in their beers, and it's always interesting for people like me to know that, so hopefully they add that to their website at some point. But anyway, let's get stuck into this beer. So this is the Ashtray Heart, an imperial smoked porter, or a smoked porter, however you want to describe it, from Evil Twin Brewing, originally from Copenhagen in Denmark, but now from New York, Brooklyn in New York, over in America. Slange, skål. Now that is, even on the first sip, very, very nice beer, I have to say. Yeah, it's really quite sweet. On the first taste, it really is quite sweet. As I always say, just sugar it about your mouth a little bit and let the whole palate adjust to it. But on the first taste, it is quite sweet, and that smoky character comes out more into the aftertaste. But yeah, as you would expect with it, it's got a huge, big roasted malt character to it. Quite a nice, mild, dark roasted coffee. The middle of the palate is just kind of blanketed with this kind of this light brown bready base. It is very light. It's like a dark sort of brown bread pale malt actually that goes across the middle of the palate. And then the more roasted characters come out a little bit more towards the edge of the palate. On top of that, you've got a nice sweet milky chocolate coming out there. It does have a bit of the kind of sweeter red fruity elements that you expect of dark chocolate as well. So you'll notice that right in the centre of your palate, and there is an element of a nice caramel sweetness in there as well. So perhaps some dark treacle and molasses flavours as well. Really quite nice, and there is a bit of nutty character mixing in with that nice kind of brown bread base that the beer has as well. Yeah, really nice this one. The thing, when you think about this beer as being 8.9%, it hides it very, very well. The boozy character isn't visible or isn't detectable in the palate at all. You feel just a little bit of it down here after you take a few sips, but the boozy character in this beer, you really wouldn't notice it, I have to say. Very well hidden. But yeah, the flavours in this beer blend together really, really well. Around the very edges of the palate, at the very back corners, you've got a nice earthy character, and that kind of builds a good bridge between that nice brown bready malt base there and the other hoppy elements of the beer. It's very smooth, earthy character, maybe a little bit herbal as well, but more a kind of nice, smooth, slightly sweet, earthy character around the edge of the tongue there. It's a little bit more cereally or spicy in the back corners of the palate, and then it smooths out as you go around the edge of the tongue there. Very, very nicely done, I have to say. And there is a bit of a kind of red fruity ester, a kind of figgy note in there. You'll feel a little oily bubble just behind the very front curve of your tongue there. Just a nice little oily bubble in there, and you get some figgy and maybe not quite plummy, maybe more of a raisiny, a figgy and raisiny flavour coming out just behind the very front of your tongue there. And into the aftertaste you're getting more of that kind of smoky, ashy thing. It's probably a kind of Fuggles hop they're using in this one. Around the edges of the palate, that's where you're getting this smoked character. So I would say, definitely, I can see why they're saying in one sense that it's a stout and then the other sense it's a porter, because the stout always has a bit of a thicker mouthfeel to it, and it actually has a good bit of a creamy mouthfeel. So in terms of that mouthfeel overall, what I should say is that it's a mid to full bodied beer, probably pushing the full bodied one. It is actually quite thick and quite oily. The carbonation is very, very smooth, but there's a good bit of sweetness to the malt in this one, and as I say, it becomes a little bit drier towards the end of the beer, and that's when you're getting some of the earthy hop, slightly spicy earthy hop, but not spicy in the same sense as aromaticity that you get from some of these. Just a nice light spice in the back corners of the palate, and then it smooths out to give you a nice kind of slightly dry smoky character around the edges of your palate. They are very nicely done, but there is just a teeny bit of alcohol warmth as you progress through the beer. It just comes in down here, but it's not noticeable on the palate at all. But overall, this is another really, really nice beer from Evil Twin. I need to try some of the other ones that are different styles, because the disco beer was a really interesting one that was a quite sour beer. Now I've tried the dark one, and I've also tried their collaboration beer, which was a double IPA, so I probably need to try some other ones that are going towards like a kind of Pilsner beer or a Belgian style or a Doppelbock or something like that. I need to have another look at what other beers they do, but again, this is another really, really good beer from Evil Twin, and I'm quite thankful that you can get these in the Systembolaget in Sweden, because there's a limited choice, but if you've got the different Evil Twin things, it is pretty good. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to review another one. This is a really, really nice porter beer, very smooth and quite sweet, and the smoky character is just nice and subtle. There wasn't really much of a meaty characteristic to that one as I thought was going to be in the aroma. But all these beers can surprise you. You've got to try them and see for yourself. Beer is always subjective. You'll always pick up different flavours in it. But as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Feel free to connect with me through Facebook or on the Untappd profile I've made for the channel. Hope you've enjoyed this beer review. But until the next one, slàinte for now. And I'm sure I'll be doing more Danish beer reviews for you in the fairly near future. Skål!